Financial observations are what we're talking about here on the Professional Edge. My name's Sean Todd, tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. Actually, an adjunct professor at the University of Georgia in their continuing education program. Some of you might not have realized that as well. That's my side hustle, as I say. And I've actually been teaching. I've taught at the great school of University of Georgia, taught at Emory, and also taught at Oglethorpe. So now we're situated at the University of Georgia, and it's a way to give back. And just like here being a host on the Professional Edge, you may listen to something and that may cue you in to get things taken care of. And that's a financial observation. Wish you would do it through me if you learned of the trick or the observation. But, some have a long-lasting relationship, but also it might be an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Sean has a couple good ideas occasionally, and might want to sit down and have a conversation with him and make sure I'm on track. So that number to call is 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. So what other financial observation can we make? 25 basis points in the Fed reduction, possibly another 50 basis points coming up in the next two meetings. So a total of 3/4 rate reduction. Well, we know that that's going to decrease the borrowing cost, and therefore we're going to spur maybe the housing market, get that back on track, because housing is sort of stuck because we have the old interest rates of 3%, 3.5% on mortgages. People don't want to sell their house and go into a 7% or a 6.5% mortgage rate. So they're just sitting tight. So this might free some stuff up. It also may make the housing affordable or more affordable. So that's something to also consider. How is that going to impact your portfolio? Well, the home construction industry might be one to reposition some assets in, because one of the financial observations is the Mag 7. The Magnificent 7 is responsible for a very high percentage of the overall market rate of return. It's called concentration risk. And when you look at that, the Mag 7, if we take those out, the other 500, the S&P 500 index, those companies are not getting this 20, 30, 40% rate of return. If you look at NVIDIA stock, it's 400%. If you look at Oracle stock, they're in the news. We look at Tesla stock, that's in the news. So we have all these different things, but the concentration of the actual overall rate of return in the market has actually become even more concentrated over this past year. So how does that impact your overall portfolio risk? Well, the only way you can do it is to do a professional risk analysis. And that I would strongly advise all our listeners here on the Professional Edge to make that calculation. It is eye-watering what these Mag 7s are accounting for as a percentage of the overall market rate of return. Yes, they're household names. We think that they're too big to fail, and they're going to continue to do these billions upon billions of dollars each and every quarter after quarter. And if they miss it by 0.1 of $1 billion, then the analysts say they're probably losing their mojo, and lo and behold, the stock has a huge adjustment. Well, it's pretty tight in the technology sector. So again, this is the financial observation. This is me not knowing what you have, but to give what I call a public service announcement saying, understand the risk within your portfolio, and it's okay to get an 18% rate of return compared to a 26% rate of return if it helps reduce some of your risk and overall exposure in your portfolio. To have that conversation, do give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. The other financial observation is a lot of people don't want to sell any winners. They think it's going to continue to go. Look at stocks that have just, went off and done very, very well. They don't want to sell that stock because it's going to continue to do well. Well, there's no guarantee, and there's other companies that are going to continue to do well. So that's where I want to make this financial observation. What is your portfolio concentration risk? Something you need to very well consider, because let's say you own different mutual funds. Well, the different mutual funds have greater and greater exposure to these Mag 7 or these top performing companies, because the overall value, and a lot of them are not equally weighted. So therefore, if Microsoft continues to grow and that was the largest position inside that fund, then it becomes a greater percentage. So therefore, you have greater risks or price sensitivity to the performance of Microsoft. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm not picking on Microsoft. I'm not sharing my opinion. You can't rely on my advice as a radio announcer because you're not my client. So it's just something to take into account, is what is your overall exposure? When was the last time you actually had a risk analysis on your portfolio? That's another financial observation. So to have the candid conversation, do give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. And we have a podcast called The Professional Edge. You can look it up on any podcast platform, and we're there. So if you're not able to tune in on 9 o'clock on Sunday morning at WDAK, we post these, and you'll get the subscription to that. They're free to listen to. And if you hear something and it might help a colleague or a family member, they're out of state, send it anyway. Because we have clients, California, Texas, Florida, New Jersey, here in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, great state for the Indiana Hoosiers. So it doesn't really matter because there is no real boundary. And that's why we have basically put up that podcast. It's called The Professional Edge. And that way other individuals, not just here in Columbus, can actually benefit from our financial observations. So when we look at the next financial observation is, are you on track for your safe and secure retirement? So the other financial observation, the market's done very well the past 2 years, and it looks like this year is also going to come in very strong. So the financial observation is, okay, we have some revised 401k balances. Your investments are up. What actually are you on track to do in retirement? Is your portfolio going to be large enough to sustain the withdrawal distribution that you want? And you may say, I'm going to retire in 5 years. Well, now is the time to plan for that, because it may say, hey, you're a little bit short on your funding, and if we can put an extra $250 or $300, whatever that number might be, into your investment accounts now over the next 5 years, compounded over your 30-year retirement, because that's what you need to plan for, well, then lo and behold, it makes a difference. So wouldn't you like to have that number now instead of 5 years when you want to retire, and the numbers come out and say, hey, you're going to run short when you're about 78 years old. What are you going to do now? Well, I don't want you to have to go back to work at a 78-year-old. So you want that safe and secure retirement. So the financial observation is, when have you done your actual retirement income projection to make sure that you're going to be okay? And the other thing, which is also pretty powerful that we do, is we run what is known as a Monte Carlo analysis, because we all know that the markets will not give a sustained 8% rate of return annualized over the next 20 years. We know the markets fluctuate, and when the markets become good, meaning consistent positive years of substantial returns, 2 years back to back of 20+%, that's unprecedented. People don't remember that the market can become fickle, and it can drop. It can drop 07 to 09, it dropped over 50%. So if I said, hey, you're going to retire at the beginning of 2026, you get everything in line, and lo and behold, we have some significant event. And that next year, 2026, your first year of retirement, the market has a significant drop, 50% or 30%. Then it's called a sequence of return risk. You started your retirement the very year that the market dropped. Well, that means that your withdrawal is going to be a greater percentage of your overall portfolio. So that is another sequence of return risks that you need to evaluate if you're being honest with yourself. So that's another financial observation that we try and help our listeners here on the Professional Edge evaluate. And yes, it takes a little bit of time, a little bit of commitment on your side to say, hey, I want to have a better understanding of what my exposure is to understand that. So to start that conversation, give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. We sit down and we do this analysis for you so you can understand, well, all right, my portfolio seems diversified. We put it into the software and it says, well, would you be okay with a 37% reduction in value over a quarter? Because that's what your portfolio has done historically on the worst case scenario. Would you be okay with that? And if you're not, then that's when the adjustment in the portfolio allocation takes place. But knowing that is a better decision tool than just winging it or not knowing your exposure. So that's a financial observation you, as a listener here on the Professional Edge, should actually do. Make an objective risk analysis of your portfolio and understand your concentration inside your portfolio. And just because you have different named mutual funds or ETFs or just individual stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, that doesn't mean that you have a diversified portfolio. Because we've seen clients come in and the husband holds the exact same thing that the wife holds in her accounts. Now, they have separate accounts. I don't understand that. They both hold the same exact thing. That is no diversification. That is craziness to me, because that says when the bath water goes up and down, they go up and down together. Well, let's separate that a little bit so they're not as 100% correlated to each other. So again, we see that observation of being a tax attorney, a CPA, and a certified financial planner. We're able to provide the tax counsel to our clients. We're licensed that way. We manage portfolios on a fee basis. So yes, we are a fiduciary to our clients, and therefore we have to act in our clients' best interests. And then we combine the estate plan to make sure that we don't make a foot fault there at the very end. I appreciate you listening to the Professional Edge on the financial observations. My name's Sean Todd, tax attorney, CPA, certified financial planner.
With today's financial markets, are you getting the personal and professional attention you and your money deserve? Clients of estate management counselors benefit from having one set of professionals advise them on their tax, estate planning, and investment advice. We call that the Professional Edge. Sean Todd is a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. With over 15 years' experience, he welcomes the opportunity to assist you in preparing for retirement, implement effective tax planning strategies, and to help you properly plan your estate. His radio show, The Professional Edge, is aired weekly on Sundays at 9 a.m. If you're interested in meeting with Sean, call his office at 877-654-9798. That's 877-654-9798. Do you want to feel more confident about making the right investment, tax, and estate planning decisions? Today, these decisions are more complex than ever. Have you thought about working with a professional advisor and not sure who to turn to? Not sure what qualifies one to be an advisor? Sean Todd is more than qualified as a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. Sean is with Estate Management Counselors. Estate Management Counselors operates as an independent fee-only investment advisory firm. They're dedicated to gaining a personal understanding of their clients' objectives and implementing professional counsel and advice to achieve those objectives. So take a second to talk with Sean Todd to learn how you can benefit from their multidisciplinary practice, where where they coordinate their clients' legal, tax, and investment strategies into one comprehensive and integrated plan to enhance and protect their clients' financial security. You can reach estate management counselors and speak with Sean Todd by calling 1-877-654-9798. That's 1-877-654-9798.